Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Lovers or innocent victims. On April 7th, 2024, the Mrs. Buryatia beauty pageant was held in Ulan-Ude, Republic of Buryatia, Russia. Seseg Buinova, a 30-year-old mother of 2 children, received the nomination Mrs. Top Model in it. Instantly famous throughout the country, the woman also quickly disappeared from view. Literally. 4 days later, the finalist went missing, and for 4 months, nothing has been heard from her. Investigators, relatives, and just concerned citizens have been knocked down in their attempts to find the missing woman. However, the further the investigation progresses, the more questions arise. Mysterious disappearance has given rise to many versions and creepy speculations. Today, together with you, we'll try to touch the mysteries of the investigation and figure out where the beauty queen of Eastern Siberia disappeared. Mysterious disappearance. April 11th, Seseg called her husband Boris, who was on a business trip, and asked to send money for groceries. After that, she informed him that she would be doing household chores. Her husband was convinced that this would be the case, but the woman decided otherwise. That evening, she decided to earn some money on her own. From time to time, Seseg moonlighted as a cab driver in her Mitsubishi Outlander. Despite the numerous earnings, the money was still not enough. Her spouse did not like this way of earning money, especially when she was taxiing at late hours. However, the wife assured that everything was fine and she was in no danger. At 8 p.m., Seseg left the house, and an hour and a half later she was free. At around 10 p.m., the young woman met with her friends to have coffee together. After a short conversation, the acquaintances went home. Seseg Buinova said she would also go home to her children. She called the boys and warned them that she would be there soon. However, her words did not come true. Instead, the woman drove up to the Absolute shopping center, where a young man got into her car. CCTV cameras recorded that the two stayed in the car for about an hour. A time later, a third man joined them. The car then drove out of the parking lot toward the 100th block. After that, Seseg did not return home. Moreover, later it became known that a certain Stanislav Norboev disappeared with her. Beautiful Seseg. Darmayeva Seseg Balzinimayevna was born on July 8, 1993 in the small village of Tashir, Selenginsky district, Republic of Buryatia. There is little information about her early age. However, one thing is indisputable. The girl grew up very active. She loved to dance and do sports, especially singled out volleyball. It was this sport that instilled in her iron discipline and the will to win. Having received secondary education, the girl moved to the capital, where she entered the Buryat State University. In 2015, she successfully graduated from the educational institution. After, the enterprising person registered as an individual entrepreneur and became a specialist in eyelash extensions. To this day, on the expanses of the internet, there are still ads in which she advertises her services and invites to the procedure. Having studied the profitable directions in business, in December 2022, Seseg opened a children's clothing store, and in her spare time, she started moonlighting as a private carriage driver. As for her personal life, everything is as transparent as possible. Seseg shared important moments in social networks. Even during her student years, Darmayeva married and became Buinova. The marriage gave birth to 2 beautiful boys, Kirill and Alexander. In 2024, the children turned 9 and 8 years old, respectively. The young woman was a wonderful mother. She brought up her children in love and care. Her husband Boris did not often glimpsed in joint photos, perhaps because he did not like to be photographed. According to the latest information, he worked in the organization for catching stray dogs. He was a former law enforcement officer. Many people speak favorably of him. He loved his creative wife and supported in everything. They even say that the couple never quarreled. At least, no one saw it. In her posts, Buinova talked about visiting Moscow, St. Petersburg, Turkey, Thailand, and Cuba, supporting the information with colorful photos. The young woman liked to dress stylishly, take care of herself, go to the gym, and have fun. She was often seen in local restaurants, clubs, and karaoke bars. At the same time, she behaved with dignity. She just liked the beautiful life and social gloss. Buinova knew how to present herself, always wore fashionable clothes, beautiful makeup, often arranged professional photo shoots. Mrs. Top Model. One day, a young woman decided to take part in a national beauty contest. Having easily passed the qualifying stage, Seseg found herself among the contestants. During the 2-month preparation, she shared everything in her account, covering, so to speak, behind-the-scenes secrets, masterclasses, trainings, and so on. Finally, on April 7th, the final of the contest took place. On the stage, the contestant tried to show herself and her talent as much as possible. She even fulfilled a childhood dream by singing in front of a large audience. "I am my family, my husband and my children, my relatives who are always near and support me in all endeavors. I rejoice in life, every new day, and believe that each of us should be happy and fill this life with bright emotions. For me, happiness is my family. Every day, they give me new emotions, smiles, their love and warmth," Seseg confessed during her performance. According to the results of the contest, the jury unanimously awarded her the title Mrs. Top Model. Seseg expected that participation in such an event would be the beginning of her path in the modeling business. However, a few days later, she disappeared without a trace. During this time, the flowers given at the event did not even have time to wilt. First clues. The news of the beauty queen's disappearance spread quickly. The first to sound the alarm was her husband, who at that time was in Khabarovsk. On April 12th, he threw Seseg a few photos from the trip, but she did not respond. During the day, he did not hear from her. After that, he called his mother-in-law and asked her to go to their house. The village of Gorky was located on the outskirts of Ulan-Ude. As it turned out, the children were left alone, and Seseg had not been there since yesterday evening. Having heard the bad news, Boris immediately flew to Irkutsk, from where he left by car. On the morning of April 14th, he was already there. By that time, Seseg's relatives reported to the police. Law enforcement officers did not hesitate and quickly organized a search operation. They were joined by volunteers from the specialized search and rescue team, Liza Alert. On the evening of April 12th, Buinova was posted on social networks. While specialists were busy establishing the route of the missing woman, leaflets were distributed all over the city and information was collected. In total, more than 500 people were involved. Many places were combed. Vakmistrovo, Medvedchikovo settlement, 100th micro-districts, forests, and riverbanks. However, the first clues were found on the territory of the industrial zone. Exploring the area around, volunteers noticed a mattress, and under it men's and women's belongings. Bloodstains were visible on the grass next to them. Specifically, they found a woman's black tights, a man's and woman's jacket, a t-shirt, men's underwear, and a gym bag. In the pocket of the man's jacket were keys to a Nissan car and keys to an apartment, as well as a driver's license in the name of 26-year-old Stanislav Norboev. It is noteworthy that at that time the people who found his personal belongings did not know that he had disappeared together with Seseg. None of his relatives suspected it, so Nadezhda Boldanova, Stanislav's sister, learned the terrible news about her brother. Stanislav Norboev. When the name of the young man unexpectedly surfaced in the investigation, Stanislav's mother was shocked. She said that she saw her son on the evening of April 11th. He stopped by her house to have dinner. After that, he received a phone call and left. The guy did not say who called, but he was in an upbeat mood. He said that he would go to his apartment and get some sleep. Stas's mother noted that he initially came in work clothes. However, he soon changed his clothes and hurried away. He studied well, was cheerful. He graduated from the construction faculty of the East Siberian State University of Technology and Management. He was fond of soccer, served in the army, worked by profession in the road department. "My son has always been my support," Nina Norboeva said about him. People close to him characterized him as a calm and judicious person who led a healthy lifestyle and practiced sports. He had an extensive circle of friends. In early April of this year, Stanislav moved out from his mother to a rented apartment in the 100th block. The young man justified his decision by the fact that he wanted to build a new relationship and create a family. Otherwise, he did not tell anyone about his personal life. Points of contact. It soon became clear that Stanislav Norboev and Seseg Buinova did not meet by chance. Something linked the young people, but what exactly it was is not known. Relatives of the missing decided to find out how they were connected to each other. There are two versions of the story. Ekaterina, a friend of Seseg, said that they met about a week ago in a nightclub. Before the institution closed, the man invited Seseg, who liked him, to a slow dance. After he found Seseg Buinova in social networks and started flooding her with messages, Seseg confessed to her friend that she did not exchange contacts with him. However, Stanislav was stubborn and insisted on communication. In her interview, Catherine was perplexed. He knew that she was a married woman and had children. His behavior was alarming. Moreover, later it turned out that Seseg was not the only one to whom he wrote. Other women were also found. Relatives and acquaintances hastened to dispel all doubts about Stanislav. They made an official statement that Norboev is a good man who is not capable of kidnapping and even worse. At the same time, another close friend claimed that Seseg and Stanislav had met much earlier. Allegedly, they often crossed paths at training sessions, as they both loved volleyball. From here comes another equally popular version that between them did arise romantic feelings, about which Boris soon learned. Allegedly, Seseg's husband could not survive the treason and decided to teach the unfaithful wife a lesson. Perhaps something did not go according to plan, so instead of scaring the lovers, he killed them. Either it was originally about ruthless revenge. This theory is explained by other facts, which you will learn later. However, perhaps this is why the investigation does not trust Boris and considers him the main suspect. In his interview, the man shared that the investigative committee does not want to work with him. They do not give me any information, not even regarding the conducted examinations. Nothing. For example, they found some earring, but at the same time did not notify me, did not invite me to the identification, complained Buinov. Also, the husband of the beauty queen reported that they seized the video from his phone. According to him, if he was really involved in the case, he was already definitely sitting behind bars. Who accuses me? It's their right, their understatement, he stated. The relatives of the missing woman say with one voice that they do not believe Boris is guilty. They rely on the fact that they had a lot of plans for the future. The couple was making repairs and dreamed of a third child, a girl. It must be said that as soon as Boris returned home, he immediately began an independent search. Familiar family members are sure that Boris is trying to vilify. Another find. Along with the things on the vacant lot in the grass were also found bloodstains. Later, it turned out that they belonged to Stanislav Norboev. A few days after the investigation began, Seseg's car was found. It was parked with twisted license plates in one of the yards. The resident of the apartment building number 60 on Stolbovaya Street reported about the strange car, similar in description to the one flashed on all news channels. It was not the first day that the woman had been watching him through the window. During all this time, the owner has not shown up. Buinov, who arrived on the spot, recognized his wife's car. However, it was empty. After inspection in the cabin were found sand, dust, and a small branch, as if the car had been in nature, for example, on a vacant lot. On the windows of the Mitsubishi and the driver's door from the inside, there were visible traces of blood, and in the trunk, there were removed license plates. After conducting a genetic examination, experts stated that the blood found belonged to none other than Seseg. Unfortunately, it was not possible to establish when exactly the vehicle was there. Therefore, the testimony of an eyewitness was taken as a basis. A picture of what happened. After the specialist studied the recordings from the video surveillance cameras, the picture of what happened began to emerge. At 08:52 p.m., according to the cab service, Seseg finished the last order on the route Barnaulskaya-Armavirskaya. At 08:57 p.m., she called her friend and proposed to meet. The women agreed to see each other near the Krona Flower Salon on Baltakanova Street. There, they got in touch with another friend and stopped by the cafe. After a friendly conversation, everyone went away. However, instead of heading home at 10:41 p.m., Buinova drove up to a shopping center located at 158 Babushkina Street. 4 minutes later, Stanislav Norboev drove up to her. After that, the man moved into a black Mitsubishi, in which the young people stayed for about an hour. Then another man appeared out of nowhere. He joined them and they drove off in an unknown direction. At 12:19 at night, street cameras recorded the Mitsubishi at the intersection of Babushkina and Rinchino streets. The vehicle was moving towards Domostroitelnaya Street. Further, their trail disappeared. In addition, the investigators managed to establish something else. At 12:44 a.m., Seseg visited her telegram for the last time, and an hour later, her car was speeding back at breakneck speed. On April 12th at 6:28 a.m., Buinova's cell phone was fixed at 5 Sakyanova Street. This address is not far from where Seseg's Mitsubishi was later found. New information. As new leads emerged, the possibility of finding the missing alive was melting before our eyes. But the main mystery, perhaps, is the identity of the third person who got into the car. Investigators are in no hurry to name him, but there are reports that he previously worked in the police. This version arose after the guards of the industrial area where the things were found earlier shed light on the ill-fated night. The drivers of passing trains noticed that around 1 a.m. there was a car in the vacant lot, and they saw a man near the railroad tracks. For safety reasons, they reported the matter to their superiors. Several guards then went to the location to investigate the situation. A man wearing a cap was driving the car. The men arrived and asked him what he was doing here. The latter replied that the car had stalled. He then showed his police identification card. When the guards decided to check the surrounding area, the car suddenly started and drove away. They later identified the vehicle in which the unknown man was sitting. It was Buinova's car. Unfortunately, they could not remember the appearance and the data given in the ID card. Employees of the industrial zone referred to the dark time of day and poor visibility. The fact that the mystery passenger was not simple was indicated by many things, including the place where the car was located. It turns out that he was standing in the blind spot from the nearest CCTV cameras. After a while, the popular show Malakoff on the television channel took up the investigation of the case. In the course of it sounded different versions of what happened. In the studio were present relatives of the missing and experts. However, the most important were unique footage from CCTV cameras, which were shown for the first time. They show how a car, similar to Seseg's car, drives into the vacant lot and stops. Then several people get out of it. Some movements resembling a fight begin. One of them falls down, the other pulls something large and long away from the car. Then, the man who was pulling something gets back into the car and drives away. However, 45 minutes later, he returns again. As time passed, 2 unknown men approached him, and then the headlights went out and the picture disappeared. Perhaps the released video will give a new twist to the tangled case, and there will be positive developments in it. Among other things, there are plenty of oddities in the disappearance of Seseg and Stanislav. On the night of April 11, 12, not far from where the evidence was found, outbuildings were burning. Some people believe it was not accidental. Someone intentionally committed arson to destroy all traces. In addition, the next day, unknown persons poured concrete on the place where Buinova's Mitsubishi with 3 passengers was supposedly located. One thing is clear. The case is covered with mystery, and someone deliberately prevents its disclosure. Why did the search stop? By April 17th, hundreds of volunteers combed Domostroitelnaya Street and the entire industrial zone, abandoned buildings, ravines and woodlands, hills and wastelands. Conducting searches in the water area of the river turned out to be problematic, as at that time the ice drift began. However, as much as possible, the search operation was carried out. At that moment, more than 2,000 leaflets were distributed all over Ulan-Ude. A huge number of people were questioned. However, as soon as concerned citizens from other regions started heading to the city, the search group, Liza Alert, announced the suspension of its activities. In their post on the social network, the leadership explained that their headquarters had done a tremendous amount of work in 5 days. "We do not finish our work. The text read, "The search for Seseg and Stanislav continues. We are waiting for new evidence, ready to process it, and go on autonomous tasks." During this time, several other items have been found in the investigation area that could conceivably belong to Seseg. Among them, women's boots, an e-cigarette, and a hat. However, at the moment of the finds, only a man's jacket with documents and keys have been officially confirmed. Apparently, the other things have nothing to do with the case or information about them is not disclosed. Volunteers noted that there is a lot of garbage and miscellaneous junk on the vacant lot, which makes the inspection much more difficult. The search for Seseg Buinova and Stanislav Norboev continues to this day, but by relatives. The relatives of the missing have joined their efforts, despite the suspicions that have arisen about Stanislav. Families and their acquaintances take to the streets after working hours and on weekends. There are about 10 of us. Strangers are calling, interested in the results, worried, offering help. Now law enforcers, family, and friends are doing it. Of course, we would like to once again gather volunteers and walk the place. The children are waiting for their mom. They don't know what happened. So far, we have told them that mom has left. Shared Svetlana Mitipova, Seseg's aunt. Nina Norboeva said that she feels that her son is alive. The woman stated that she would believe it until she was convinced otherwise. The silence was interrupted. It is striking that after the public outcry, there is a sharp silence. People are perplexed and speculate why the Liza Alert Squad, after finding important leads, quickly called off the search. And afterward, they closed comments to posts about Seseg, explaining it with ethical considerations. In the first week, hundreds of people dropped what they were doing and took to the streets in search of the missing. Understandably, they were extremely outraged and waited for some kind of explanation. Finally, on May 29th, the authorities broke the silence and made an official statement. They reported that murder is being considered as the main version. The suspect is the person who got into Seseg's car near the shopping center. Work is underway to improve the quality of the video footage to identify the person. Otherwise, investigative operative search and search activities continue in the criminal case. Evidence in the case. Thus, at this point in the case of Seseg and Stanislav's disappearance, there are the following official leads. First, the items found in the vacant lot: Norboev's jacket, keys, and driver's license. The second lead is other items, the identity of which is not known. The third clue is a large bloodstain found there. The fourth lead is a woman's car left in the yard with no license plates and bloodstains. The fifth clue is the CCTV footage, which shows the route of the Mitsubishi on the night of April 11th, 12. And finally, the sixth lead is the testimony of witnesses and eyewitnesses. Forensic and genomic tests are being conducted on the available evidence. No further information is available. Versions. The main theory is murder. The first person who comes to mind is Boris Buinov. He may well have been involved in the massacre, and the infidelity of his wife could be the motive for the crime. But this is just speculation. Seseg's relatives reported that they did not find any compromising correspondence in Seseg's computer. Boris admitted that he had been questioned by investigators more than once and passed a polygraph. At the same time, many circumstances raised doubts. First of all, Boris's work in law enforcement agencies in the past. We remember that the unknown man showed his service ID and could well be a former colleague of the suspect. Secondly, Buinov's strange business trip on the day of his wife's disappearance, 1,500 miles away. It is as if he took care of his alibi in advance. The second issue is the questionable nature of the trip itself regarding the capture of stray dogs, especially over such a long distance. Thirdly, Buinova's expensive automobile was not destroyed, and after all, it is a jointly acquired property, and in case of what it will always be able to dispose of the second spouse. The second version is kidnapping. Allegedly, Stanislav fell so much in love with a woman who did not reciprocate that he stole her. However, this raises many questions. Who was the third person in the car, and for what purpose? Is Seseg alive at this point, and if so, where is she? The next theory is a criminal showdown over debts. It is possible that at one time, the woman sought financial help from people with a criminal lifestyle. perhaps to build a business, or maybe in preparation for a beauty pageant. When the time came to pay off her debts, something went wrong. Hence, Seseg's desire to moonlight as a cab driver. Also, on the day she disappeared, she asked her husband for some money. Obviously, it was a small amount, but there is a possibility that she was collecting the necessary amount. That would explain Stanislav's presence in Buinova's car. Perhaps she did not tell Boris about her problems, but invited an athlete she knew to the meeting as a defense. In that case, killing them is illogical and rather wrong. It is important for the creditor to fulfill the debtor's obligations, even if overdue. The fourth version is the most banal, but it is quite possible. Seseg and Stanislav could have encountered an inadequate traveling companion. Especially after the contest Mrs. Buryatia 2024, the woman was widely known. The criminal could have been her secret admirer, who put his sick fantasy into practice. There is another version of events. What if the two lovers simply ran away, and to be forgotten in time, were forced to stage a crime? Although it is unlikely that the young people would go for such a thing. Seseg had children she would never abandon. Stanislav had a mother and a sister. There are few people willing to build their happiness on the misfortune of others, instead of the bottom line. As we can see, there are many versions of events. It is possible that over time, in the case of Buinova and Norboev, something will become clearer. However, it may also happen that we will never know what really happened. However, this investigation has brought us a little closer to solving a very strange disappearance. And what do you think was the cause of the terrible events of April night in Ulan-Ude? Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel. There are many shocking stories ahead of you.